Ben Riggs presents D&D Out Loud. Are these the most influential RPG designers of all time? Episode 84.
Greetings, one and all. Welcome to D&D Out Loud with me, Ben Riggs, apparently controversial D&D historian and author of Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons & Dragons. Over the past 14 years of writing and podcasting, I have met hundreds of creative geniuses in and around the world of tabletop role-playing games. Here on this show, I ask a few of these flaming torches of the human imagination to come forth and have a fascinating discussion, which I record and then send out into the void. And tonight's episode is a very special episode because we have got a returning all-star lineup. These three designers don't just make games, they change what we think games can be. First up, Jonathan Tweet, a legend with a designer's designer resume, the kind of mind that can build a rules engine and make it sing. Lead designer of 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons. Jonathan's sticky fingerprints are all over modern tabletops, and somehow he's still out here pushing the form forward like it's the year 2000 and we just discovered fire. Jonathan, welcome back.
Nice to be back, Ben. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, these just keep getting bigger, and I'm just leaning into it. So, Batman and Robin, Nick and Nora, Sherlock and Watson, Mario and Luigi, chocolate and peanut butter, Vincent and Meg Baker, designers, provocateurs. They are the Marx and Lenin of the powered by the apocalypse revolution. Like Jonathan, to count the games and designers who owe a debt to Vincent and Meg would be to try and count the stars. All three of you have been on the show before, so this isn't a first date. This is the sequel. The stakes are higher, and I'm hoping this conversation is going to be dangerously good. But I didn't give Meg and Vincent a chance to say hello. So hello, Meg and Vincent.
Hello. Thanks for having us back.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you. And audience, conversation began, and I was like, "Wait, let me hit record." And now I've hit record. I've introed, and I'm hoping that we can slide back into where we were. And where we were was kind of assessing 2025, and it seems like everybody had some positive things to start out with, most notably the Baker's successful Kickstarter. And Meg, you were talking about being a year being cancer-free.
In March. Yeah, in March I will have my year anniversary of being declared cancer-free. Thank you all for all of your help in getting me there.
So there's plenty in 2025 I do not want to talk about. I'm
yes.
happy to see that year in the dustbin, personally, politically, socially. It's 2026. We're starting over.
Here's hoping.
That's right. Regress to the mean, man. Let's just regress to the mean.
That would be so wonderful, right?
That's all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And your successful Kickstarter was the Apocalypse World Redux?
Apocalypse World,
Yeah.
Apocalypse World Burned Over.
Sorry.
Third edition. So that is very exciting, and that will be a lot of what we're going on this year. And then coming up very, very soon, I'm doing the 2nd edition of Cyron. So I'll have that kickstarting later this spring. Because nothing like trying to do two things at once.
That's right. So I backed that Kickstarter. When do you think we're all going to see 3rd edition?
Oh, hopefully.
Well, on the Kickstarter we say December, and that's still looking possible. We haven't all the way rolled. No, I'm teasing. We're hoping for late in the year.
Yeah. Good. All right. Can't wait.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a painfully facile question to get the ball rolling. It's one I think the audience is probably thinking about, given that I have the three of you here. and what the three of you have in common, which is that your games are incredibly influential.
Great first names, really great first names.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with those three first names, but and I'm just gonna ask it with 2020 hindsight. Why do you think your games had the influence that they had?
I'm just going to say that troop style play and the way that Ars Magica lays out the ability to have multiple characters at multiple places, like the magicians and the companions and the grogs, was revolutionary at the time to me. And I still think about the 10-year-long Ars Magica game that Vincent and Emily Cairboss and I played with incredible fondness.
Okay.
So I mean, that's one of my places out the
10
gate.
years.
Why? Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
For a decade. Yeah, like through the birth of our first two children.
Wow.
I,
That game works great for long-term play. So you got your money's worth.
Well, and also it was like, so it was just, there was just the three of us, right? And a 3-player game is incredibly rich, right? And it's where Vincent and Emily and I all did a ton of our like core breaking down game mechanics and doing things differently, because after you play for a couple of years, you're like, all right, we want to do something different. You didn't write rules for how to do a horse race and how to bet on the horse race. So we had to write those, and those rules turned into the mechanics that were other kind dice and the mechanics behind Cyrun. So there's a lot of different things, and like a lot of Emily's and Vincent's in my design. Yeah. Anyway, just to get that off my chest, thank you so much.
Yeah,
well,
my pleasure.
I have a little thing to get off my chest too, since we're doing that. So one time a million years ago, I wrote a game called Kill Puppies for Satan,
Yes, you did.
and it was do we swear on this show? I can't remember.
Yeah, you can. We do.
Okay, good. It was my fuck you to role-playing game design. I was 20 something. Like, it's ridiculous to have been saying fuck you to role-playing game design at the time, but that's what I was doing. And I sent a copy to Jonathan as fan mail, and he wrote me back, and we had a little conversation. And I said, Ars Magica, and you said, Jonathan, to me, that you had designed that game for campaigns and Over the Edge for characters. When you wanted people to tell you about their campaigns, it was Ars Magica, and when you wanted people to tell you about their characters, it was Over the Edge. And I said, you can design games on purpose? Oh, I better learn how to do that.
So we did, you know.
So we're still trying, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, but that's the thing. That's the thing. And so I feel like that's where we like, that's the beginning of of this particular conversation, is like talking together that was in 2000.
2001, maybe. Yeah.
2000.
No, it was definitely.
Elliot was born in April
of 2000.
Yeah, and I know exactly when that was written.
I was sitting at my computer at work at the Health Sciences Library at Bay State Hospital when that email. It was an important moment. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for that. It was an important moment.
Thanks. That really helps me think about what went into that statement. So in some ways, I think Mark Reinhagen and I designed Ars Magica less. I mean, obviously we were very intentional about it, but we didn't have multiple options and we picked one. And it wasn't until I went to my next game, Over the Edge, where then I was like, well, we already did this one game that works that way, but you could have a game that works a whole different way for a whole different purpose to get a whole different experience. And then in retrospect, I could see like, oh yeah, we were trying something in Ars Magica, but it was sort of, I would say, half as intentional as you were giving us credit for. So I think I grew up on games where a game was a set of rules for whether you succeed or not.
Right.
And then
Yeah, same.
do you succeed at casting a spell? Do you succeed at picking a lock? Do you succeed at killing the monster? And the rules are, do you succeed at it? I was a big fan of basic role-playing game, the basic role-playing system from Chaosium. And all that is two systems for deciding whether you succeed or not.
Mm-hmm.
And Ars Magica, we obviously have all that, whether you succeed or not, but we really wanted to take it to the next level, to do something more, which is establish a feel and establish like a style for the campaign and so forth. And we were very intentional about this is the game that's going to do wizards perfectly, or not perfectly. We're going to do wizards in a way that no one's been able to do them before, and we're going to make everything in the game serve that. And so that and then, boy, we just put everything we could into it. We weren't thinking about what game we were going to do next, or like this game is going to do that, and another game is going to do another thing. It was just like, this is the game that is really that's going to do this one thing really, really well. And so,
yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I feel like Vincent and I do well also, is like, this game does this well.
Yeah.
You know, we're not trying to make a game that does everything well. We're trying to make a game that does this really well. Yeah.
Great.
So I don't think I've ever asked you, Jonathan, was Ars Magica your first game?
Well, my first game was Have Laser Will Travel, that I wrote when I was 12 or 13.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I read the back cover of Metamorphosis Alpha, and it sounded really cool, but it cost $5.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have $5, so I created my own game. And back then, the games were like, the gaming had come out of the amateur field. They had come out of war games rather than out of board games. And the board games were kind of professional and sold in a nice box, and all the rules were there. And war games were kind of cobbled together, and that you can see that in Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was very accessible as a hobby. Like, if you want to do a science fiction game with mutants and you can't afford $5 for Metamorphosis Alpha, you can just write your own. And so that's what I did. And the best part about that was I made up the weapon of electric chains. It was a flail with two sets of chains. It was electrified, and it had a big range of damage, because sometimes, the idea was if you got hit with both of those things at the same time, I mean, really, whatever. So it's about the only thing I remember out of that game.
That's awesome.
But that means by the time that I had got to Ars Magica, I had done some games for my buddies, Houses and Humans, right? Like, you're 2 inches tall and you're living in an abandoned house, and the cat is the biggest monster you're ever going to fight, or whatever. And then I hacked Dungeons and Dragons, and so, like, by the time I got to 3rd edition, it's like, wow, I've been down this road, and I know what works and what doesn't work. But I had a totally hacked version of Dungeons and Dragons that I ran for years in high school. And then when I got to college, by that time I had really gotten into RuneQuest, and I wanted to write for Chaosium. So I tried writing Call of Cthulhu adventures. I got some stuff published in different worlds. That was my first ever publication. So I was trying to just do kind of the regular stuff for other people's regular games. And Mark Reinhagen and I decided to, what if we'll design a whole new game, right? Like, I worked for a long time on a big Egypt supplement for RuneQuest and all that kind of stuff. So we did a game called Mindscape, where it's a interplanar game where you travel from place to place, and the idea is that your thoughts and expectations influence what's real in these worlds. And that's so very new agey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We played one session of that, and the playtesters hated it. And so we were mature enough to take that feedback and shelve Mindscape. And then like, well, okay, now what are we going to do? And that's when I said, the one thing that has always bugged me about role-playing games is that the wizards aren't super powerful like wizards are supposed to be. So I had a game I was working on that never made it to the table in high school where like you couldn't play a wizard. Wizards were the NPC super powerful beings, right? And so then this became, well, what would happen if you could play one of those super powerful beings? And that's where Ars Magica came from. But I had done a whole ton of stuff, and Mark and I had worked on other stuff before. None of it that ever really went anywhere.
Yep.
That's really interesting because from me, like I started playing D&D when I was 7. And yeah, like my neighbor, her older brother was 14 and their dad got him the box set and he was like, whatever. She was 10 and she was like, we are playing this now. And like, that's what we did for the next, 5 years.
Yeah.
My DM was 10. She was 10. Her younger brother was 9. I was 7. My sister was 5.
Wow.
That was our D&D group.
Is it the Holmes Basic set you got, or
yeah,
it was
yeah. And like I remember when Star Wars came out, and Jenny, we all went to see it, and Jenny was like, "Let's do this, but Star Wars," and like, hell yeah! I mean, we just went for it,
Yeah.
So I remember that, and I also remember like doing what my sister and I called them penny adventures, where on very long car trips. And it's like, okay, well, it's just a 50-50 chance.
Wow.
We're just flipping a penny. And it always started with, okay, you're in a hallway going east and west. There's a door ahead of you. What do you do? And that was always the opening scenario. And then it was very much like just mind wandering, wild mind wandering. Cause we're not going to be writing characters and reading and things in the car. But we did have pennies. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then like by the time I met Vincent, I was 19. Vincent was 20. No, Vincent was 18. I was 19. And then we were just like we'd already played a billion things as kids. Yeah. And then it was like, what do you want to do now?
I think people get into role playing these days and it's less accessible as something that you could do yourself. It looks so intimidating. It's all polished. It's all laid out really nice. It's big hardback books, right? Like Holmes Basic was kind of cartoony and kind of incomplete, and you had to make.
It was like saddle stapled. It was white on paper, basic print, and saddle stapled. It was a zine, basically,
right.
And that's, I mean, you can see that in a lot of, like, you can see that in Apocalypse World for sure. That we're like, no, it's not going to be big glossy. It's not, do it. You just do it. I think that
Apocalypse World. I want to ask you asked me a question. What's the big idea in the new edition of Apocalypse World?
Well, so there are a couple of pieces that come together. One of them is that, so our kids now are almost 30 and 25 and 20, something like this, 20, 28, 25 and 30. No, and 20. And the older two started playing Apocalypse World with their friends when they were age appropriate.
They were in high
Ellie
school.
was probably 16.
15, 16,
when they
17,
started
18.
playing that game. But the youngest was 12 at the time and was like, I want to play Apocalypse World. And I was like, no, you may not. But I can't say no to that kid. I can't say no. And so we started working then on general audiences, let's say Apocalypse World.
8 years ago.
And that never had the charge that it needed to finish, to come together into a whole game.
Yeah.
Until November 2024, when suddenly everybody I knew, including myself, was furious. And you may recall.
Mm-hmm.
And
Remind me.
that anger gave Apocalypse life.
And it-
Gave
All right.
third edition.
All right.
Yeah, gave burned
Love.
over life. And also, like that was the first election that our youngest could vote in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
I
so-
mean, they turned 18, so
Yeah. So it was, but that lined up. Not only had their cohort, continued to age, but that level of, all those emotions for
Yeah.
all of our young folks who were 18, 19, 20 in, the fall of 2024, seeing that happen, really, that's why like that fueled it in a way. And that's why the change from Apocalypse World first and second edition, where it says, something's wrong with the world and I don't know what it is, to something's wrong with the world and we all know what it is.
I mean,
All right.
I will briefly just shout out, just so you know, this isn't a politics podcast, but about a year ago, I posted some things about D&D and race. We lost some listeners, lost some subscribers, and that's, again, God bless them, and that's fine. I'm not judging anybody for leaving, but this is, I would say this is a safer space than maybe some podcasters or YouTubers who want to keep that more occulted. So again, please continue, but just with that may be a useful frame for you.
Yeah, that's good. So one of the things that's interesting to me, like what Jonathan said about D&D coming out of wargaming. So one of my big background, besides playing D&D forever and a billion other things, is storytelling, and storytelling is as old as humanity. And so I think that one of the pieces there is that telling stories and playing games is how we process everything. So of course we're going to be dealing with everything from our childhood desire to fight the monster to our teenage issues of like, am I really cool or not, to our dealing again with like, how do we deal with this? And on one hand, you have games and game design being a way to have some escapist time, to imagine a different world, to be like, can I just hit the monster with my axe, please? I can't deal with so on one hand there's that, but there's also the really very real piece of, if we can imagine a different world strong enough, we can reach places. There's a reason why playing role-playing games and builds empathy. Puts you in someone else's shoes, or it puts you in like a place where you can experiment. Like, what if I was truly unhinged and chaotic and completely inhumane in my violence or whatever? Doesn't really matter. Like, it's totally self-centered, but it gives us the experience of practicing and being all these different people in all these different worlds, and trying on other people's shoes, right? And if I can imagine being another person to the point where I'm invested in that person's well-being, in my character's story, and my character's well-being, and the well-being of the other people, other characters in the party, and we're working together to do it. All those skills and experiences scaffold right out into life. So it's really no shock that we're talking about role-playing. That's right. And like, it's gonna bring up whatever's going on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, on the topic of Apocalypse World, I want to talk about my experience. I played it with John Harper once, and really sort of came away from it like ready to do a cooler game next time. And the thing that one of the things that I noticed was, when you roll your 2 dice in some sort of combat situation, one or both parties end up getting hurt. And
Mhm.
so instead of the RuneQuest basic role-playing system of like, do you succeed or not? It is like you roll the dice to find out what happens, what happens, and to who and how much, and
Mhm.
by having both I'm at risk when I'm rolling those dice, and the person that I'm struggling with is at risk. You get twice as much out of the die roll. It's the same amount of time as to roll those dice, but you get twice the result out of it. So it's like it's twice as good. Like, oh, that's brilliant. So when
Certainly twice as fast.
I mean, so and fast is one of the things that people have a hard time understanding, like humanity has a hard time understanding, is the importance of rate, the rate at which things happen. This is
Mhm.
why engineers in the 1800s couldn't get their steam engines to work, because they would either go faster and faster and faster until they went off the rails, or they would go slower and slower and slower until they stopped. Because it's easy to think about things happening, and it's for some reason not intuitive to think about the rate at which things happen. And so you see a lot of role-playing games that are just really slow because people have added extra bells and whistles or extra steps or all these things that sort of make sense, but in the end, now you've just made it take longer to get from
Mhm.
I'm going to try something to what the result is. And if half the time when you try to do something, nothing happens, that slows things down compared to every time you try to do something, something happens, maybe something you don't want to happen.
Mhm.
And so it's just the when I say it's better and you say it's faster, faster makes it better. Like that. That's one of the things that we learned when we streamlined the initiative system for third edition. Is just like,
Mm.
actually, the less time it takes for you to get to the next attack roll, the more interesting everything is. You take the same amount of fun and you cram it in a smaller amount of time, and go right.
Yeah.
So that taught me something. And then when I did the third edition of Over the Edge, guess what? You roll 2 dice, and always something happens, either a good thing or a bad thing, and possibly they could be mixed up. You could have an extra bad thing happen when you fail, when something bad happens, or even a good thing happens when you otherwise fail anyway, or whatever. So it's not just one or the other, but everything is rolling on that die and that dice throw, and I tried to put as much on there so that you don't have round and round combat. You roll these 2 dice and you see who wins the fight, and then
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's
So
the good stuff.
so thank you. Like just like you can actually just have more happen on a die roll, and everyone will be happy for it. So that's great.
Yeah, that's one of the important places that Apocalypse World came from, is that we had little children, and we could play from their bedtime to Emily's bedtime. So from 9 to 11, Emily turns into a pumpkin at night, and she would have to go home. And so we would have those little 2 hours to play role-playing games in.
It was so sad. It was so intense because like Toby was a baby, and we had Emily Care Boss and Joshua A. Newman and Evan Corner and Kat Jones and Julia
Ellingboe.
Bond Ellingboe were in that was our group.
Yeah.
And Vincent was running. So everybody would come over, the kids would be getting to bed, and there would be definitely times when Vincent would fall asleep with Toby. And
Yep.
I had to go up and be like, hey, we're all ready. And I definitely remember times when we'd be playing downstairs, and Elliot and Mary, who were, in school, I remember Mary coming downstairs and saying, okay, Mom, Dad, we're going to bed. So can you please just keep it down a little bit? It was so charming. It was so charming. And yeah, but like that is exactly part of it. That's like part of the whole design ethos of Apocalypse World is, man, make every piece do as much work as possible, as fast as possible, because we have such little tiny slices of time to play.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing that I walked away from that game thinking about was so John Harper presented there's three sort of centers of habitation that we might end up in, and it's basically the really bad place and the medium bad place and the might not be so bad place. And like, well, where do you guys want to start? And you know, if you were playing D&D, it'd be like, well, we go to the least bad place, right? We want to level up, we want to get as many gold pieces as we can, so we're going to do the smart thing. But in Apocalypse World, like, you're there to mix it up. Like, you're not there to be safe, you're not there to increment up your experience points, right? You're there for things to get burned down and built up and whatever. And so I said, well, you know, we just been kicked out of the least bad place, and reluctantly we are heading to the middle place. And then of course that's more interesting. That's the
of course.
So like, oh, it's so something about the setting is sort of liberating. I'd gotten a little bit of that, a taste of that playing My Life with Master. By Paul
Sagan, yeah.
Sega, that's right. And it really something about this setting in Apocalypse World sort of brought that home for me.
That's very cool. That's very cool. It is a game for burning everything down.
I mean, I like how you talk about irreversible losses, right? Like, a lot of sort of standard role-playing games is something goes wrong, and then now you have to figure out how to fix it. You go and undo it. So the motion that the drama had gets reversed. Like, and that's like in real life. That's what I want to do. Something bad happens, and I want to go fix it so the bad thing didn't happen. But you're here for drama. You're playing this game for, like, you're not playing a game about, you know, being safe, or in D&D, like when we did 3rd edition, it was sort of like high school. You know, you put the time in and you'll get there to your max level. You just have to just work at it, and, you know, play the numbers and don't be stupid, and you'll get there.
But in Apocalypse World, like I say, you get to be a total badass.
Yeah.
You get to do amazingly cool things. Sometimes it goes catastrophically wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
That exactly.
In a game. I don't want that in a game.
Life. That's right. If the game so push it, right? Like that was that's how in Over the Edge, the idea is, hey, make up whatever character you want. Like, it's the real world. It's the real world. And so you can dream up everything that you find interesting and just do something crazy. So that was inspired by a local game that I played at a convention, and it's called Twilight's Edge, I think, and no one's ever heard of it. And I get handed a character, and he's like a millionaire race car driver, martial artist, or whatever, and I'm like, this is stupid. I should be first level. I'm just starting. I should be like a sub. And then we played this game. It's like all the other characters were super cool, and my character was super cool, and we did super cool things. And I was like, why don't we just start with characters that are super cool? Why are we first level in all of these games?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something both from Ars Magica and from Over the Edge that Apocalypse World learned, is that, you know, you can have the compound boss, and you can have the guy with the gun, and you can have the and they can coexist, and they can there's no need to balance them in sort of their scope or their power, their effectiveness, because they all contribute, and they all have drama, and they all have impact.
There's
yeah.
There's something else though that I want to say about Apocalypse World. Another piece that is very influential that we never talk about is ElfQuest. And like, I started reading ElfQuest when I was 11 or 12, and I had every single issue. And one of the things that I see very clearly is the way that when we were in college and we were taking 6 or 8 hour bus rides back to your folks, and I was working on the ElfQuest game, that the way that Wendy and Richard like the way that they write, like if you look at the way that those characters have very distinct playbook niches, but they work very cohesively, and it's not in the same sort of niche protection that we get into with Dungeons and Dragons sometimes, but it does build, and then you layer that with Ars Magica, where there's a troop and there are different people, there's different roles at different times.
Yeah.
That is, I think, a piece that matters, right? Because that's where you have the archer, the healer, the stargazer, the huntress, the and it's really in there. Am I desperately sad not to be writing that? Yes. Have I talked to Richard about it, like in person a couple times? Yes. Oh well.
Elf Course was cool because it was like muscular elves riding wolves, right? They weren't
that's my elf,
whatever.
That's yeah. Anyway.
So I have a question about ElfQuest, because you're the ElfQuest expert, and about Over the Edge. This is more speculative. In Apocalypse World, I was having this conversation a couple of years ago now, and it's really become part of the way I talk and think about Apocalypse World. Each of the playbooks brings with it, when you bring that playbook into play, brings problems that playbook isn't equipped to solve. You are dependent on each other to solve your problems. And would you say that that's true of ElfQuest, and would you say that that's true of Over the Edge?
I would absolutely say that's true of ElfQuest. 100%.
Okay, well, that may be where we learned it.
Yeah.
Over the Edge is not very structured, right? So you can have characters, and I've seen characters in play that are kind of independent from other people. There was always an idea that every character has a flaw, so no character can do everything, and everyone has sort of, and the game master can, arrange for that flaw to come into play so that it matters. And in the third edition, I got rid of the flaw and substituted in the trouble. It is the kind of trouble that your character gets in.
Right.
And that's sort of the same thing as like you're not only can your character not handle everything, but your character's actively bringing trouble on themselves, that's going to get them in a sticky wicket, and they're going to need friends.
Right.
But even so, it's not nearly as structured as what you see in like the playbooks in Apocalypse World.
Yeah, because when I think of like the Over the Edge character, I imagine the writer who's a junkie or whatever.
Yeah.
For instance.
Right. Well,
Yeah. Oh, really?
I'm trying to remember my Over the Edge character. That our Over the Edge campaign was really a fascinating and strange thing, but yeah.
Like you're in over your head is the character I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you really do need people.
I mean, and in Over the Edge, everyone's in over their head. And the things that happened was, I had one player who was trying to be a min-maxer. I'll come up with the flaw that's going to mean the least, and I'll come up with the special ability that's going to let me do the most. And that was like that, and that's just his personality, and that's how he approaches all sorts of things. It's totally not my style. And but then he got in the worst trouble because the more powerful you are, the less scared you are of going into the place you really should not be, and you don't realize you have the power to get deeper and deeper and deeper until you're in too deep. And so I was always saying, as the game master, you should be very giving. You should give the players all the rope that they ask for.
Yeah.
And so
True.
yeah, I mean it was the case, right? Like the character designed to be able to do anything was the one who could get into the worst kind of trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Ben. Do you want to get a word in edgewise here?
I want
to go back to this is a time that you made me temporarily angry because you had taught me something that I wasn't ready to learn.
Really?
Yeah, it was. So I'll start with the soft one. The one that didn't make me angry was when I said, for Kill Puppies First Aid, you should have random charts for like what kind of trouble you get into or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, no, how about you just ask the guy, like, what trouble is your player getting into now? And it better be serious trouble or I'll have to make something up. And then the players would make up their own whatever, right? And that's maybe what inspired the trouble stat that every character has in Over the Edge 3rd edition. What is the trouble that you get into if left to your own devices? What is the fun that you bring to the table? Like, Scooby-Doo always goes off to the wrong place, and then that's what drives the plot forward. Is that you go where you're not supposed to go and do the stupid thing, and then it blows up in your face, and you have to run away, and now you've learned something about what's behind the curtain or whatever, right? So I was like, oh, okay, no, that. And that's, and that was after I had written Over the Edge. In some ways, I look back at the early Over the Edge, and it's very trad. Like you invent crazy characters, and it's pretty freeform, but the dice throws is still like, do you succeed or not? Sort of, and you have hit points. So anyway, thanks for that. The one that kind of made me angry, not for very long, was, I don't even know where I read it. It was about, imagine the ranger goes out in the woods and he's looking for orcs, and he succeeds at his track check and finds that there's no orcs there. And then that's okay, so he doesn't get orcs. But what if instead the character had the trait find orcs? And it's not you have some ability as a character, but like, I mean, in the world, but like your character brings to the table the ability to bring orcs into the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that's a game level ability rather than a world level ability. And you can't do that in RuneQuest. RuneQuest is all about, your character's abilities to manipulate like what's in front of them and roll percentile dice and see if it works. And so, and you had a couple other examples of like how skills could work in ways that you could never replicate in RuneQuest. And I was like, that's not how can you have a stat that does that though? That's not right. Like Over the Edge doesn't have anything like that. The stats you had were your character stats that represented your character's in-world ability to do things. And so that just sort of flipped everything, and it's sort of like, yeah, it's a game. You can make up whatever you want. You can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that
you were mad.
I was mad for a little while because it was sort of like, this is heresy. This is not you can't live like animals. There has to be rules. Well, do whatever we want.
Well, I mean, you'll be pleased to hear that we did learn that from Ars Magica.
All right. I'm pleased to hear it.
Yeah. We when we by the end of that campaign, so that was the second game we played, Meg and I, when we were in college. And so this would have been 1992 maybe. We started 91, 92.
91, spring of 91.
Spring of 91.
I'm pretty sure.
We played Cyberpunk, and then we played Ars Magica.
We played a D&D game, and then we played, it was way too big, way too many players. And then we played a Cyberpunk game that was secretly a Shadowrun game because you were sneaky.
Yeah.
And
that was
cyberpunk,
very fun. Very,
that's
very fun.
that's the genre that Mark and I decided not to do. When we were working on Ars Magica, we thought, what would really sell would be a cyberpunk game.
Mm.
Yeah.
But neither of us were like, all right, we're just not that into it. Like we really
Yeah.
wanted Magica. And we would
And then
not
we,
and the cyberpunk game would not have been Ars Magica. Right. So
Yeah.
that's a good
yeah.
thing.
And then I ran the Ars Magica campaign for you and Esther in
Yep.
college, and then the Ennead was playing it, and this was incredible. This was 8 people in the living room with 2 8-track recorders, the big old ones you could get in the 80s, recording the whole thing. And it was so much just like hang out and chat in character. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then after they all moved to Portland, a bunch of them moved to Portland, but Emily and Vincent and I didn't move to Portland. So we said, well, we're going to do a different game, still Ars Magica. And then we played together. So I ran one. The Ennead one was really, really co-GM'd in many ways. And then it was
Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
So we played that game from 91 to 2006, on and off with about 20 different people. And
All right.
at the end, that 10-year game with Emily, by the end of that, we were. Where was I going with this? I was going to talk about learning that from you.
We have a notebook.
We learned it from watching you.
I have a notebook that says on the spine, "This is the one you want," because we moved house several times during that, and we had that is the one thing we have to know where it is, like before we're unpacked everything else, because we have to know where that is. So yeah.
But so by that point we were all experts in the game. We all had our areas of expertise in medieval history and literature, and all of our various interests that had taken us all down different rabbit holes. And so it was very collaborative in that way. It was very natural for each of us to bring things to the game that we wanted to see for each other.
Yeah.
Okay, and then attaching that to a character is possible, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I'll say I pronounce it Magica now. It's supposed to be Magica because it's classical Latin rather than Church Latin.
Yeah, Magus.
Magus, but everyone calls it Ars Magica, or they go back and forth. And so the people have spoken. If everyone calls it Ars Magica, I've given up.
Good.
It's Ars Magica.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Grace.
Everyone says magic, Ars Magica, Art of Magic. It's I'm not going to fight it.
Are you still involved with it in any way?
I'm not. Yeah. And it's it's just very different from the kind of game that I would play now.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's and partly that's because it requires a long-term campaign to really get the most out of it, and that's just the way that I played. We had a long-term Call of Cthulhu campaign, long-term RuneQuest campaign. Like long-term campaigns are just the way we did things, and
so that's a really good question. Like that brings up a question to mind, about designing games and the size of party that the size of table that you're designing for, because I don't know how many people you were designing. When you were imagining a group sitting down to play Ars Magica, how many people were sitting at that table?
Yeah, I'd say 3 to 6.
3 to 6. Okay, so
3 to 6 players in the story guide.
Right. So with Vincent and Esther and I, or Vincent and Emily and I, when it was just 3, and it became very collaborative. That was one extreme, and then the other was a room full of 8 to 10 people.
Yeah. And
that was the other extreme. Because something that I see in our work is, especially with our young folk, they want to play with all 7 of their good friends, and
Yeah.
it always gets unwieldy.
Yeah.
It's always just a little bit of a stretch for
Yeah.
the MC to handle.
Yeah.
And I see that. I keep designing these things that are for 3 to 5 players. Someone and 3 to 5 players, and that everybody in the world is like, "But I want to play it with all 8 people." I'm like, then you have to go play Murderous Ghosts because that's all I got for you. But I think that's a really interesting challenge in game design. Like, how do you design for a big group like that?
Yeah, I don't know how I would even tackle that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, we sure played with some big groups when we were doing Dungeons and Dragons, but it was, the characters were all simple and didn't have stories, right? And so it was okay if no one got a character never got the spotlight, because they wouldn't do anything if they were in the spotlight anyway. There was no
but I loved playing D&D as a kid when it was the 4 of us, but I've tried to play in some games as a grown-up with 8 to 10 people to play. And I'm like, whoa, I'm literally just sat here for 2 hours until it's my turn to do. And I'm like, this is not my fun. And maybe it would be my fun if it was 3 people, but that's not the way anybody plays these days.
Yeah, you would almost have to have a system where people can sort of go at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Like everyone rolls all their attacks against the orcs.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm done. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been watching 12 and 13-year-olds trying to play large games of Dungeons and Dragons, and it still doesn't work very well, but they certainly have the patience for it. But I do have a kid who started investigating mega games and large scale games. He's really interested in, I think it's called Watch the Skies, which sounds like Model UN but with aliens. So you get like 10 to 50 people, they have countries they represent, and aliens attack, and it's kind of a like one-shot mega game.
That's cool.
Yeah, like it comes out of England. I'm inquiring about purchasing it for my classroom because I think the kids would love it. I'm just kind of like, do I tell them about the aliens or do I let them find out on the day of? Well, if they get Romania, will they study Romania harder if they know that there's aliens at the end of this? That's my question.
But in a lot of those, you can have more than one thing happening at the same time, right? Because
that's also true.
3 people from 3 different countries go off and they're like planning something and other people are planning something.
Exactly.
So you don't have that.
Right. You have synchronous parallel play that then comes back and interacts and that's how we did our really big Ars Magica game too. Is you'd have like me and Barry and Emily would be having this little conversation, and Charles and Jen and Kip would be having that conversation, and then we'd like refigure things. Yeah.
Well, our time is short. I'm gonna say Bakers. I think it's obvious what you're gonna plug, but Bakers, what would you plug? What should my audience go and purchase of yours?
Okay. All right, Under Hollow Hills. Go buy Under Hollow Hills for one. It's out now. You can buy it. It's wonderful, and I love it. And it is so much it's a different shape of thing. Apocalypse World Burned Over is in the works and will be out later this year. And with Apocalypse World and then all of PBTA, I feel like there's a little bit Apocalypse World. What I say is, we found a box of tools. It's good for Metal Shop. And Under Hollow Hills is the game we wrote. Like, I started writing it a long time back, but we actually got to write it during the shutdown, pretty much. So it didn't get the same level of get to bring it to conventions and get to do this and do that. But my suspicion is, here's a toolbox. Seems to be good for woodshop. It's different. It's a different take on things. Yeah. So I'd love to have people buy that while they're waiting for Apocalypse World Burned Over to come out.
And that's romantic, like fairy nights and human nights under the Hollow Hills.
Okay. So Under Hollow Hills, you play. You're a traveling fairy circus. and you're
Oh,
playing.
it's not what I'm thinking. It's a different one from.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You're
sorry.
thinking of another game that I'll
I
talk
am.
about in just a second, or maybe Vincent will. In Under Hollow Hills, you are playing the members of a traveling fairy circus, and you are performing in the fairy realms and in the human world and in all the worlds between. And the question is, how do you play this situation? How do you play it? What's your play here? I'm going to make a play for you. So it's very different.
Yeah.
Very mischievous, and I adore it. I really adore it. Can't talk about it as much as I want to because we have time that is short. The other game, Vincent, do you want to talk about the In Dreaming Avalon? Or
Yeah, that's the one you're thinking of. It's
Yeah.
Under Hollow Hills presents In Dreaming Avalon, and it's Meg always says it best. It's Arthurian knights and Shakespearean fairies having a meet cute in the woods.
That's it. Yeah, good.
it's a great one shot for like 4 to 8 people.
Yeah.
And it's just, we have a series of games that started with Firebrands and then includes The King is Dead and In Dreaming Avalon, and also Murderous Ghosts, where there's like 2 booklets that you're playing against each other. And In Dreaming Avalon is, again, it's a series, it's a bunch of mini games. It plays really quick. You go around and be like different little things you want to do. The one place, like, it really thrives and sings when you just don't overthink it. You know, you don't have to get it. Don't worry about a whole big backstory. This is a dream, and you're just, don't worry about it. Just dive right in and see whether or not things happen.
Yeah. Oh, things will happen.
Things can happen. It's for sure. Yeah.
All right, Jonathan. What should my audience go procure of yours?
Yeah, I get royalties on Over the Edge, so you can sure get that. The 3rd edition, I think, was a ton of fun to write. I think my writing has gotten better in the 30 years, thankfully, and so it's just I was just looking at it the other day, just like, oh wow, this is really good. Oh, I like reading this. But I got something special. This is the first book to teach evolution to preschoolers, and so all the time that I was working on 3rd edition, I was also working on this book, and it 15 years in, I finally figured out how to do it. And it's in Japanese and Chinese and Italian. It's the real deal now. Macmillan picked it up.
It's such a good book. It's so good. It's so clear. The illustrations are beautiful. The language is so approachable, and it's like, he's really right that having a book that is so beautifully giving examples and giving science to little kids in a way that makes you want to reread it because the story is so good.
Kids love it. My parents would like it, but kids love it because kids love animals, and they love families, and they love acting and pantomime, and they do all that kind of stuff. And my big idea is I want kids to go to kindergarten knowing things that would have blown Aristotle's mind.
So you give them polyhedral dice so they can know all the math curves,
right?
And grandmother fish so they can know the biological history.
Yeah, my 4-year-old gives grandmother fish 2 thumbs up. It's a regular in the rotation. So
good.
Thank you so much for that. If you enjoy this conversation, listeners, we have a Patreon. A mere $3 a month, less than the price of a cup of coffee, gets you access to our Discord and special Patreon-only episodes. We do multiple episodes a month with Dr. Scott Bruner, where we're reading the entire 1st edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide aloud. 6 years into this experiment, and we are on page 48. So, it's going really well. But you also get other cool things like me interviewing 2nd edition designer Zeb Cook in the Hugh Hefner suite in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin at the old Playboy Club. And all that for a mere $3 a month. So with that final plug, I'm going to say, Jonathan, Meg, Vincent, this was absolutely incredible. in 6 months or something like that, I'm going to try and have you all on again because this was just a great conversation. Thank you so much for your participation.
Yeah, love it.
That would be awesome.
Jonathan, so good to see you again. It's been a
Oh,
while.
good to see you. This has been just heartwarming. Yeah.